Desert Commandos is fun Umberto Lenzi macaroni combat bravura, somewhat lower budgeted, somewhat limited, very garage, a lot of soldiers, the main characters for Desert Commandos, moving around from place to place, eventually reaching their target location, men on a mission, the finest cinematic equivalent of playing commandos with your friends as children, although preferably the children aren't playing as Nazi soldiers. Lenzi's use of Germans in World War II Nazis as the lead characters is interesting. It seems tasteless and unwise. Few would do it today unless you were to portray the German soldiers as misguided and brainwashed tragedies. Although this is an action film, as macaroni combat pictures shamelessly are, the filmic equivalent of playing of toy soldiers, you could claim. I think it is the aggressive, ruthless, shameless nihilism with which one could mould around a story about doomed Nazis. Oh, spoiler alert, this film is about the Desert Commandos of the title seeking to assassinate Churchill, Roosevelt and de Gaulle at the Casablanca Conference, and as one might imagine, this isn't an Axis Powers Inglourious Bastards, Man in the High Castle, What If exercise in relentless ontology. Instead, the commandos are murdered in a trap sprung via a record player. Oh, you've seen The Eagle Has Landed. You get the idea. Actually, that came out 9 years after Desert Commandos. Was it inspired by? Probably not. There's an interesting IMDb user review of this film from one Sergeant Slaughter. They deemed it to be from the 26th of September 2002. I prefer the older IMDb reviews. It's a more interesting time when people were actually, compelled to, go to a place called the internet and submit a review. And now it's just commonplace. The internet's everywhere. It's like, I'm going to submit a review. Everyone wants to do it now. It's worthless. But he gave it 7 out of 10, claimed it was Umberto Lenzi's finest World War II movie. There's at least 4 of them. Italian director Umberto Lenzi went on to bring audiences across the globe epic schlock in The Greatest Battle and incredibly cheap thrills in Bridge to Hell. Bridge to Hell's from the mid-80s. The Greatest Battle is one of 2 World War II pictures he did in the later 70s. We've talked about one, From Hell to Victory, but The Greatest Battle is the earlier of the From Hell to Victory 79. I believe The Greatest Battle is 78. And incredibly cheap thrills in Bridge to Hell. That was 85. One of these Vietnam jungle pictures, I believe. I don't know if I've seen that. I'm familiar. I know what it is. I know it's poster. Begins his career in the war genre with a slam-bang suspense piece, which proves to be undoubtedly one of the best war movies to come out of Italy in the 1960s. Sure. The story is fresh and original and presented with unique twists from beginning to end. 5 German soldiers are parachuted into North Africa and will trek to Casablanca to assassinate a conference of Churchill, Roosevelt and de Gaulle. Lenzi's film is a true example of character-driven drama at its best. I don't know, it's best. Oh well. Ken Clark is Captain Scholler, leader of the unit, and he's never less than totally convincing as a die-hard advocate of Hitler and Nazism. Horst Frank, Thunder from the West, plays Lieutenant Wolf with gusto and conviction. Wolf's mother is American and his best friend is a Jew, so he and Scholler don't see eye to eye. He and Scholler clash over opposing ideals several times. Despite their dissension, both are dedicated soldiers who have a job to get done and grudgingly work together to accomplish the mission. Lenzi never strays far from his central conflict of ideals, always keeping his message clearly in focus. The supporting cast of familiar European actors is excellent all around. Carlo Hintermann, Hardy Reichelt, and Howard Ross round out the German team. Hintermann makes the most of his little role as a tough, dedicated German sergeant, a career soldier who'll do what he's told when he's told, no questions asked. Ginny Valerie, and Fabienne Dali are 2 female characters whose motives are never clearly defined until the film's 3rd act, and that's when you realise whose side each is really on. Gianna Rizzo has a few brief scenes as a French informer, working with the Germans, and gets to do blast away at American soldiers with a machine gun in one of the film's nail-biting action scenes. Be sure to watch for Tom Fellegi, The Greatest Battle, John Stacey, Battle of the Commandos, and Franco Fantasia, Adios Sabata, in small yet key roles as Allied officers. Yeah, of course, Battle of the Commandos. That's one of the other Lenzi World War II pictures. That one's the one that stars Jack Palance, I'm pretty sure. The Greatest Battle, that's also Lenzi's. Adios Sabata, I assume that's one of the Sabata pictures. I haven't seen many of those, actually. Though the action-packed footage is scanned, what's here is brilliantly edited and directed. Very functionally edited. It's ambitious on paper, but in execution it finds ways of... In hindsight, you realise it's cutting corners, but if you're familiar with many films, you realise it's cutting corners, but I guess the more elaborate films you are familiar with, the more it's kind of refreshing to see something like this. That's why I like Macaroni Combat. I like the DIY functionality of it. That's why they're garage films to me, and I find the garage films quite interesting. Just as the prospect that they, like the criminal picture we discussed, which is Lenzi's obviously also, it builds something out of close to nothing. The third act is tense and fast-paced, as the German, quote, heroes, unquote, dodge bullets across rooftops and duck through alleyways as American MPs, military police, are in hot pursuit. The final infiltration of Churchill's banqueting hall is excellently set up with frustratingly deliberate pacing, which will leave you on the edge of your seat. This climax ends abruptly with a great surprise, causing your jaw to drop as you wonder what just happened. Two aspects of filmmaking that Lenzi and his crew seem to emphasize are the sets and landscapes. There is not one shot in this movie that looks out of place. Well, yeah, Lenzi clearly liked Lawrence of Arabia quite a bit. When the German officers talk in headquarters, the interior looks like an office in a German headquarters. The film is set in the desert, and there are constant wide shots as actors speak and walk, which reveal that these scenes were actually shot in the vast Egyptian sand dunes. The oasis of Kufran looks especially bustling, and the essence of the atmosphere of Casablanca during wartime is superbly captured. During this time period, many directors fell back on shabby interiors and shot in outdoor locations which looked completely wrong. For example, Commando Attack, also shot in 1967, was lensed in Spain, and exteriors are passed off as southern France, yet it's clearly visible the action was not occurring in the French countryside. Interesting. Okay, that's a great point. He's listed as an example of why Desert Commandos. I've seen Commando Attack years ago. It's like probably Mario Cayano, one of these people. He's probably right about that. Finally, there are a number of other little details which contribute to the film's success. This film's success, fine editing and camera work give this movie a very professional look and feel. Very true. It always looks professional. Lenzi is just starting to develop his style, yep. And his signature close-ups used in moderation, but mean all the more when they are used. There are some great crane shots and wide shots used to establish the scope of the sets, most notably in the scene set in Casablanca. Signature close-ups. Here's the thing. This is 67, right? Good and Bad, the Ugly is 66. Leone brought back the close-up from its primacy during the silent era, and the Italians are first to pick it up. I believe one of the people to popularize this as well is there's lots of cool... Well, Dirty Harry was an extremely influential film across for the 1970s, and Eastwood's experience working with Leone and perhaps giving advice to Siegel. He'd made a few pictures of Siegel prior. I think Two Moves with Sister Sarah as Siegel. May have been after Dirty Harry, but I think Coogan's Bluff is Siegel as well. Anyway, this is definitely a great film. Wow. With some strongly developed internal conflicts and fleshed out characters, the quality of Lenzi's films would degenerate as the years passed. After 1980, after Iron Master, after 1980 something free. But Desert Commandos is easily one of the best war films to come out of 1967, ranking right up there with The Dirty Dozen. What a claim. It might be more fun than The Dirty Dozen in a way, because there's a certain nihilism in Desert Commandos which depicts it as just ugly and miserable, whereas The Dirty Dozen, if it ended with them all dying, and The Dirty Dozen could have been more nihilistic, but then it ends with a quip from Charles Bronson, and it's like one of those gung-ho yet tragic World War II movies, rather than a War is Hell, Life is Hell war movie, which I prefer the tone of the latter, I guess. I prefer the tone of, say, of an American film which starred which was about German soldiers in the Second World War, Sam Peckinpah's Cross of Iron. That tone, I think that's how you do one of those pictures. Anyway, I think we'll close it up here.